All right, so welcome back, guys. So what we got going on is the full moon, and so the full moon is going to be happening on January 3rd, 2026, at about 4 a.m. on in Central Standard Time. And so if you look, you'll see that a full moon usually is when the moon and the sun are exactly opposite from each other at the same degree. So they're going to be at 13 degrees. The moon is going to be in Cancer. So it's going to be a full moon in Cancer. And the sun is going to be in the opposite sign in Capricorn. Now, if you notice and look, you'll see that the moon is here with Jupiter at 21 degrees, and the sun has a lot of friends with it too, with Venus at 12 degrees and Mars at 14 degrees and even Mercury at 2 degrees. So all those planets that are in the signs with them that are co-present, they're going to have some kind of an influence as well on what's going on. And so when we're looking at the full moon, usually it's a time of illumination. It it shows like what you've been working on, like what's been going on. Um, if you can see this, it's usually like clarity, revelation, illumination. It's usually like a peak energy manifestation point where you're manifesting what you set out during the new moon. And you sometimes see intensified emotions during this time, maybe dramatic things happening. That's why in some movies and things like that, you'll see like during a full moon, kind of crazy things happen. Um, and then this is just a time where you'll see that this is where you reap what you sow, in a sense. And to be honest, let's go back. Um, Here, let's see. So if we go back to, you follow the moon, if we go back here to the 19th, oh, no, 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 to the 19th, when the moon, here, let's get rid of some of these planets. So when the moon and the sun were conjunct at the same degree, so December 19th, around December 19th, 7:41 p.m. That's when they were conjunct. And this point right here is the new moon. And during the new moon, this is a time where you'll see that you'll have fresh starts, new beginnings. You're setting new seeds. You're putting your new seeds out there for what you want. Um, Introspection time, goal setting time. It's a point where you're meditating. You're meditating on the things you want. You're setting your intentions on what you want. Like these are the words that you would want to use and think about during a new moon. Like usually it's not necessarily a time that you need to be taking action on something, but it's usually a time where you're planning, you're thinking about what you want. It's a time where, like, if you think about planting like if you're gonna plant a flower or a tree or something like that, it doesn't just start as a tree. You got to plant that seed first. Once you plant that seed, like, you don't even see the seed really. It's kind of underneath the ground, and you don't really see it. It's not visible above ground. So usually these are just thoughts and ideas and things like that you're setting around this time. And you know during this time is when maybe things happen during the last cycle, and it's causing you to want to make this big adjustment and start a new cycle. And usually during this time, is when you're going to be planning. And then if you go ahead to like if you follow the moon, once it makes a square to the sun, so it looks like on the 27th is when and that's actually today. Yeah, I know what currently with me, I think I'm taking more action. So this speaks to like the moon cycle. Like I'm naturally doing this right now and as we speak. But because today's the 27th. But if you look at here. Uh trying to get it exact. So it looks like at about right here. So about 1 p.m. in the afternoon, and literally it's like it's like about an hour away from me, or actually a couple hours. But so 1 p.m. about 1 p.m. Central Time on the 27th. Depending on when you're watching this, more than likely I won't post this for at least another couple of days. But when you reflect back to this day, it was probably a day where you notice that you're going to be making decisions. There was some type of a call to action, um, maybe some challenges came up, some tension came up, something, revolving around this Capricorn house and this Aries house. First steps were made. Maybe this was a time where you finally committed. This is a time where tests tend to show up. You might have set out during that new moon that you wanted certain things, you were planning for certain things, but now this is where the universe will sit here and try to test you and see if this is really what you want to do, if you're really about what you say you want to be about. So that's what this first quarter square usually is about. And then if you go to the full moon, which is in Cancer, this is just this is like I mentioned, clarity, revelation, illumination, peak energy, manifestation, intensified emotions, and reaping what you sow. So this is the point where, like, if you literally went outside during a full moon during this phase, you'll look up in the sky and you'll see that, okay, um, you'll see that the moon is like actually visible. Like it's the full moon is visible. Like as long as there's not it's not clouds or something like that. But usually if you're gonna during this time, if you can see the moon, it's gonna be fully lit. It's gonna be lit up, full thing. You can see the whole thing there. And so this represents, the fact that you can see what's manifested. You can see what's going on or what needs to be done. Like, there might need to be more actions made, but you can see like you have this clarity and a knowing of like what's going on here. And then if you fast forward to the next square, yeah, I think I'm a little ahead of myself. Hold on. Let's see. If we fast forward to the next square, it's going to be in Libra on the 10th. And interestingly enough, you'll see that it's making an exact, like all three of these. So it's making a T trine, or not a T trine, a T square. So the moon is squaring both Jupiter and the sun. So this is going to make for an interesting dynamic. If you watched my monthly horoscope, you'll know that on this day, yeah, I stressed how, you got Mars here also at 20 degrees, So this is going to be a very eventful day, I think, on January 10th, just with these four planets at the exact same degree. You have an exalted Mars who's very strong in Capricorn, opposing a Jupiter who's also exalted in Cancer, very strong energy, and the sun here as well, and the moon here as well, and they're squared. So it's gonna be a intense energy. Maybe around that time, or around January 10th, I'll make another video. But what I want to say is with this square here, this we call this the last quarter square or the third quarter square. You'll notice that it's a point where, during the full moon, you had things illuminated, things became clear. And during this phase, it's more of a time of a reflection. You're reevaluating things, you've gained some wisdom, some experience. And now for some, it may be a time that you want to surrender. If things aren't working the way you planned, you might end up surrendering. Or you might realize like there's some things that you don't need and you need to get rid of. So you're clearing space. It might be a time of closure, releasing, consolidating. You're consolidating. You're trying to cut the fat, trim the fat here. Like during that full moon, you kind of saw what it is. Whatever you started during that new moon, you kind of see what it is, what the potentiality is, and you see what it is. And now during this phase, you're kind of like cutting out things that are not necessary, or if your plan was totally delusional or just not realistic, it might be a time where you're starting to surrender that maybe this thing isn't possible, or you're seeing what the possibility is and you're trying to gear for the next level or the next steps. And so, and then as the moon continues to go, it'll make its way all the way back to wherever the sun is. And if you notice on the 18th, oh man, on the 18th at 28 degrees, that's when the next new moon cycle will start. And then you'll make a whole new intention, plan, and setting some new seeds, you know? And I talk about this in the monthly horoscope, and I'll also make a video on this new moon later. But for the purposes of this video, we're going to go back to the third, where the full moon is going to be happening. So here, like I said, on the third, I guess I can go back and backtrack a few hours. The moons are going to be opposed to each other, right? So this is the full moon. But like in order to get the context of what's going on, like I said, it's better to actually go back to the new moon. Like, what did you start? And so if we go back to the 19th, we'll see that the moon and the sun were in Sagittarius. And if you see what's Sagittarius about, oh man. If you see what Sagittarius is about, you'll know that Sagittarius it tends to, like, if you're trying to think about what this full moon is going to be about, it's going to probably be about whatever you planned out, goals you set for yourself, intentions, seeds that you planted during this time around the 19th, whether it be the 18th, 17th, or the 20th, 21st, but somewhere around the 19th, you probably started planting seeds or ideas and things that you wanted for yourself. And one of the first things to think about when we're talking about Sagittarius is adventure and exploration. So maybe some part of you has been thinking about, you want to go on a bigger adventure in life, or you want to explore more in life. So if you set out some goal on this, it could be about that. It could be about some type of learning pursuit. If you're in university, if you're studying on your own right now, studying deeply into some matters, usually Sagittarius deals with um, kind of these deep, deeper learning, like a higher learning. Like when you're furthering your education in some way or shape or form, your knowledge, you're trying to become more wise and understanding of on some topic. And it also deals with truth seeking. So when you're trying to get down to the bottom of something, you're trying to understand truth, the truth of the matter of something. That's what Jupiter is all about, who rules Sagittarius as well as Pisces. Um, and if you notice, the moon, this new moon was square to Pisces, Pisces planets, Saturn and Neptune. And so they also have a say in this, where um, probably whatever you're planning out is a, like with Neptune, there's a big vision, a big grand idea, and with Saturn there, it wants to make this thing reality and have structure to it, whatever it is that you are planning out during this time. And if we think about some other things that come along with Sagittarius, big picture goals. Like, yeah, that lines right up. Goals, Saturn, big picture, Neptune. So you probably really set out for some big goals during this time. You were thinking, ruminating, just stewing in ideas about some big picture idea during this time. And another thing that Sagittarius is about is deepening faith. You could have been deepening your faith, because Sagittarius tends to deal with religion and beliefs, personal beliefs. And so maybe you also um, started you started a deeper like a deeper faith. You started having deeper faith, or you're on a journey to a deeper faith in whatever it is that you believe, whatever maybe existing belief or new belief that has come into your life. So I think if we look here, like I said, back to this time period, this is where we get the idea of, like, what is this full moon really about? And it all started here on around the 19th, 18th, where you were engulfed by this Sagittarian spirit, and you were trying to start something, some idea, some, like I said, furthering your knowledge on something, finding the truth on something, having some big picture goal. And now when we fast forward back to the full moon on the 3rd, now we have a better like understanding of what this possibly could be about and what could possibly be happening for us. Um, so, like I said, you got Jupiter, who's exalted in Cancer with the moon. So I think this is a very strong um, team here. But then if you look across the pond where the sun is, he also has the exalted Mars and Venus right next to him. And Mercury is not far behind. And by sign, Mercury is also opposing Jupiter and the moon. So when I see this, I'm thinking, like, you know, what is this going to be about? And I think, we're definitely going to have Capricorn topics and Cancerian topics going on and kind of at a head with each other. Now, depending on what house it's in, it might be, I think it's going to play out a little more favorably for some, or not even, how do I say, not even tension, maybe more like a balancing act. Whereas others, it might be like a kind of a more tension and more of like this versus this type of scenario. So if you're like an Aries rising, if you see for Aries rising, the moon and Jupiter is in the fourth house, and then the sun and the other planets, they're in the 10th house. So this easily becomes themes about themes about uh hold on. This easily becomes themes about home and work balance. And and with all these planets in Capricorn, this is talking about your career, your public image, how you're seen in the world. And then it's opposing, in opposition to the things that's going on in this fourth house, which represents the home, the family, um, your private life. So there may be some type of a struggle for Aries risings between home and work, like balancing these two. You know, these are two different things. The home, you want to be relaxed and in a state of comfort, and in at and Capricorn in the 10th house, you know, this is your career, your, you know, what you're known for. So here, you know, you're more acting in the world, taking action in the world. You know, this is a place of action, where the home tends to be a place for rest for most people. Um, and so you could see this. But if you're, for example, a Pisces rising, let's see, a Pisces rising, then this tends to show up in your fifth and 11th house. Now, the fifth house is creative, creativity, fun, joy, children, romance. That's fun topics. And then your 11th house is aspirations, dreams, big dreams and ideals, groups, communities, friends and friendships, parties can show up here. And I think even that's not too opposed to what's going on in the fifth house. So I think for a Pisces rising, it could just be, you know, balancing the two or incorporating the two topics. And it's not so much versus or one or the other, or maybe stress involved, just more of a balancing act. Like, do I have time for this or that, you know? But let's see. So one of the things that we could see during this time is, like I said, home and work balance. Another thing that we can see is emotional security versus career demands. So with an exalted Jupiter and the moon who's in domicile in Cancer, who rules Cancer, you know, finding emotional security could be a topic for these planets. And then with Mars exalted, the Sun, the focus, Venus, a desire or preference or relationships, and Mercury, the conversations and communications. Here in Capricorn, you could see like a lot of focus, and with Mars there exalted, like it's trying to take action and demands here in Capricorn. So these two could be at odds, you know, you may find yourself trying to emotionally feel secure about the demands that your work or your career is calling for, or whatever public thing that you're being called to do or perform in a way. Like you might have to go within and find like the confidence, the reassurance in yourself that you can do these things, you know. Another topic that may come up for some of you others is nurturing relationships. I think that like I said, with that moon and Jupiter there and Cancer, like these are just like nurturing, like it just screams nurture, you know. And I think it could be a time of nurturing a relationship with someone or somebody. It could be with self, but I think it could definitely be a time where you're thinking about nurturing in some way, shape, or form, depending on what house this is for you, whatever house Cancer is for you. But definitely a time of nurturing and emotional growth for some. You know, maybe you've realized you've been a little bit immature at times in some way or another about a certain topic or about your life in general. And this could be a time where you're realizing that you need to grow more emotionally. Maybe you've been emotionally immature. You easily would show your emotions in a not favorable or somewhat negative, seen negatively type of way. And now you're realizing during this time that okay, you're becoming more, how do I say, emotionally resilient in a way. Like you have more control over your emotions. Emotionally intelligent is what I would say. Emotionally intelligent. Like this might be a time where either you're developing it or you're realizing like how far you've come and how emotionally resilient and intelligent you've become, where you can manage your emotions in a way that best suits you and the goals and the things that you desire. And then if you look even further, we got one more theme. It could be about your personal values. I think, you know, with Cancer and the planets there versus the public career or demand. So maybe the public or your career, something about, you know, the public career, it's demanding you to do certain things. It's demanding certain actions, certain ways of being out of you, but it conflicts with your personal values. Like you have the values or morals that you've set for yourself, and you're noticing that, okay, this is what they're asking of you, doesn't it doesn't mesh. And now you're trying to find a way to do what do what they're asking or give in to, not give in, to compromise and find a way to appease both your, whether it's your career, your work, your public image. You're trying to do things for that will leave people happy in that arena, but also at the same time aligns with your values, your personal values and morals. Like this could definitely be a time for that as well. So definitely I would say you should take this time and, like I said, go back and look at what you started back in on the 19th. So, you know, if you started a new religion, or if you're starting, if you started if you develop a new faith within an existing religion or belief, maybe this is a time where you're realizing people who also believe this thing is kind of challenging you to either how do I say, submit to what they believe, or you go what you intuitively believe. Because I think Cancer also deals with intuition. You go with what you believe in your own intuition. Or if this has to do with home versus work, this could be a time where maybe you set out ideas for big goals to be able to do some big things in the future. You know, maybe you even just want to travel. And so now you got these big goals at work to make enough money and to be able to set aside enough money, or set aside a circumstance to where you'll be able to take that 3 week full month vacation or trip. But you're noticing something with the family is kind of holding you back, whether it's your spouse, children, relatives, like certain things with family dynamics is holding you back from being able to achieve these Capricorn goals in order to fulfill that the Sagittarian goals that you set out for yourself. So I definitely think this can play out many different ways for a lot of you. Definitely leave a comment if and tell me how this works out for you, so that way I can get insight and see the different ways that this planetary configuration expresses itself. So yeah, I hope this helped you guys. I hope you it was insightful. Yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you in the next video.